We want passion. We want goals. We want intensity. We want running. We want these things in our game. And then when the emotions are so high and the stakes are so high in the stadium and the energy there, you can't expect a player for me like Éderson to just say, hey, listen, not clap or not show emotion.
What is it about Inter? Why do they have their number, Grell?
They have their number because they play man-to-man, and Inter are very good coming in with the strikers and leaving gaps in the back line. That's number one, right? Number two, though, where they lost today, right? Because I thought they matched them in the football side. They didn't get beat a lot, right, until the game was changed. But they beat them between the ears. They beat them when the break happened, and then they let them go on that set piece.
It can't just be that.
And they beat them in both boxes. And then they beat them.
Just that?
They beat them in the discipline as well, because once Éderson got the red card, it was still only 1-0. Once you got the red card, that was game over too. So there's a special sauce when you win games. It's not just the football. It's not just running. It's not just the tactic. There's a game within the game. And Inter are very good at that game when they need a set piece, when they need to defend their box low, when they need to have these different moments. Because you could look at the midfield player, you could look at the whole game and say, it was not really convincing from either side. You want to say Inter had maybe a little bit better chances, maybe for me.
Better chances.
But in both boxes, that's where the money's made, and that's where Inter beat them today, in both boxes.
So we heard what Mike Grella had to think about the Éderson red card, but we have an expert, an actual laws expert, Christina Unkel, and we want to bring you in to talk about this because, as we've said, Christina, there's times where we wonder, should a referee manage a moment differently? Should he be a little bit more lenient because of what's at stake? But walk me through this. Did the referee get this right?
I'm going to adopt Grella's statement of between the ears, right? The mental psyche of it. So the first time when I saw that second yellow coming out, I thought it was for the actual clap that you see. Now when we saw those highlights and those replays, the first yellow was for the first action where he took his arm and he essentially threw it, right, in dispute, in dissent, back to the official. Yes, he's shielding. Yes, he wants this foul. He doesn't receive it, but that signal and that indication is loud. That is in itself a yellow card itself. But when he comes back and claps this second time, because it's loud, because it's demonstrative, because it's obvious, this is really actually tying referee Massa's hands. I know it's clapping and now tying his hands, but essentially that is going to be supported and actually expected. For the first body language of basically saying, get out of here, it's too demonstrative, but the clapping is probably one of the most disrespectful things you can do from an outside looking in just the actions and the body language. So I'm kind of with you. Massa really did have his hands tied as soon as he started clapping after he had already issued that first yellow card. If he was not yet issued that first yellow card, I think he would have massaged that, but at that one, his hands were tied.
Listen, I will say I thought he was all right the whole time. I thought he'd let them play, which we need more in Italy than more physical game. But this, for me, we want passion. We want goals. We want intensity. We want running. We want these things in our game. And then when the emotions are so high and the stakes are so high in the stadium and the energy there, you can't expect a player for me like Éderson to just say, hey, listen, not clap or not show emotion. And also, I just want to ask, can the referee there in that situation, he's given him the first yellow, fine. Okay, fine. I think a yellow is warranted. I think if you're disrespectful to the referee in any way, a yellow card is warranted. It's a warning. But then the second one, can he not just say to him, hey, if you don't stop now, you're going to get another yellow, right? Because he's just so quick to pull it out once he claps. And once the stakes are so high in this match with 10 minutes left to go, I think it's too much of a penalty in such an emotional, big, high-level game. I think it's too much of a penalty.
I think you're in the head. You can diffuse that and you can find those moments. He could potentially have pulled him over. We wouldn't be talking about this in the sense of calming him down. But at this point, right, there's also still a responsibility on these players that they do have to still they still have to manage out this game. They still have to balance out this game, right? What he's fighting for and what he's yelling about is just a simple foul on his back, right? We're not talking about a major game critical decision or a KMI that's occurring. So Grella, he could calm and diffuse that. Let's be honest, this is Serie A, right? The passions and the a little bit higher than the other leagues that we track, and you could definitely see that. So I probably would have, deferred to that, except for that fact that clapping. That's why I said it will be supported at the end of the day, right? It will be supported in the actions itself. But sometimes that's what makes the difference between the best referees and the greatest referees, are those who are able to take that energy, that emotion, and diffuse it at that moment.
Christina, me and Marco obviously very passionate and covering this, obviously, and so we started arguing in the hallway, and we started yelling a little bit with each other. Was someone going to give him a red card and send them home? You have to be able to show your passion. So I agree with you on that front that maybe there's a bit different way to handle it.
I wish I had a card to send you home. Thank you so much, Christina, for coming in. We're all in agreement, which seems like it's pretty rare. Let's see if Grella agrees with this, though, because we talked a lot about Inter, and rightfully so. They've been a lot of the focus. Atalanta, when they beat Juventus in that 4-goal humiliation, we all said they're back into the title race. You're seeing the points here now. It's 6 points between Atalanta and Inter. Atalanta have a lot of games still to go. Do you think, can you rule them out of the Scudetto at this point, Atalanta?
There's 9 games left, right? The 9 games left, that's 27 points. I still think you cannot rule out Atalanta at all. You can't rule out Napoli at all. And Inter have the most competitions to play in, so it's going to be a run into the final.
Absolutely. We need to see the way that Inter is going to be able to manage the different competitions. Yeah. I think we've said this all year long. We've said it back in August. It's Inter's Campionato to lose. Yeah. If Inter slip up in some of the smaller games that they have, because they have to play Milan 2 times and they have to play Bayern Munich, and they could even go further on and play Barcelona in the Champions League, if that happens to be the semifinals, it'll come down to those details. And the rest have to stay so tight and pray that they could make a mistake and drop points.
Yeah, Inter right now, they look like they're firing on all cylinders. You know, they only got 2 losses in the last, how many games, right? And so they don't drop a lot of points. Today was a statement win, I think, big time. On the flip side for Atalanta, if they want to stay in this race, like we're just talking about, Gasperini, do you think it was weird that he takes out Retegui and Lookman? I mean, it's the second time he's done it. But imagine being Inzaghi today, or an Inter fan. We have our producer, Brice. He's looking and going.
He's smiling.
He's like, can't believe the board, because Lookman's coming out, Retegui's coming out, and Maldini, with all due respect, Maldini's coming in. Yeah. Guys that don't really affect the game, guys that haven't really played a full flowing football. So I think also his substitutions can be a little strange at times, Gasperini.
Of course, you could always look back, and if Maldini scores a goal, then he looks like a genius for doing that. But I think that it has been a theme. Remember, even in the match against Napoli, you remember Zaniolo coming into the game. I think that this red card here from Gasperini, it's just a frustration. It's a frustration of having the opportunity, having the dream to try to go on and push for the title, and this would have been the opportunity to finally do it. You've also tactically got outdone by Inzaghi now on so many different occasions that it feels like it's slipping for you. And for Atalanta, the struggle is that they're out of the other competitions. We know in the Supercoppa, they didn't look good in that first match. They're out of the Champions League. They're out of Coppa Italia. And it feels like Gasperini is going to move on from this team, if not at the end of the season, which I think is very likely, then the season after that, and this group might not still be together. So it really is their last chance, their last gasp as a group to go on and win a title.
Yeah. Well, we say that Scudetto. We say that they're still in the race because of the 27 points. But today was a big stomach punch, and losing to Inter now 8 times in a row tells you also there's a gap somewhere. There's a gap somewhere here, and you couldn't afford to lose, I don't think, today. But we'll see. I think there's still a long way to go. And I think credit to Inter, because and again, I don't see that Inter played the Inter from last season that they were
professional,
fantastic. But they kind of controlled most of the moments in the games, both boxes. Very, very mature performance from them.
I think that we also don't give Inter enough credit. They're fighting on every competition. The amount of games that they're playing over some of these teams is ridiculous. They're hit with so many injuries. Poison case is right now, right? They're hurt by injuries, yet they're finding different solutions. DiMarco goes down, Carlos Augusto's there, he's able to score you the goals. Bisek has to come in. Now next week they're going to be without Bastoni. They're still on track to win the treble. The Coppa Italia, they have to beat Milan, which is going to be difficult. The Champions League, there is a path to go towards the final. And with the Serie A, we also have to give credit that some of these games are difficult. The competition is there. It's not easy to be able to manage all these competitions. You look at the rest of football, even Liverpool, they're going to drop out as much as they got their praise. So I think we also have to take a macro perspective and say Inter is still doing something that's remarkable right now at this season.
You know what's crazy is, though, there's 9 games left in the season. So you're like, okay, this is coming down to the final, the grand finale of the Serie A. Inter could potentially have like 20 games because they have to play 9 games Serie A. They could play 5-6 games Champions League or whatever it may be. They could play 3 more games in Coppa Italia. So
9,
now all of a sudden it's like they have like another mini season to go. So they still got a long way to go. They got to keep guys healthy. We saw Dumfries go down today as well. So and Thuram was, I think Matteo mentioned it on the call, was moving but not quite like himself. So if they keep guys healthy, they got a real shot at the treble. If not, then it's going to be interesting down the stretch.
He's been dealing with a lot of injuries as well, Thuram.